What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, this is going to be another one of those training camp day recaps. Today is the 28th of July, and I'm going to be going over the things that happened at practice and the press conferences because I know that some people don't have the time to read all the articles, watch all of the press conferences, and analyze it all for themselves. So I break it down into a quick, try and make it under 5 minutes, just video recapping everything that happened. So with that in mind, let's get right into it. So talking about practice, the biggest thing that happened today was Lamar Jackson hitting Isaiah Likely for a 55-yard touchdown. Hit him over the top, which, that connection is something that I'm really looking at as potentially something that could break out this season as a legitimate weapon for the Baltimore Ravens in Isaiah Likely, the gorilla. So that's something that I really like to hear out of that. According to Jamison Hensley, Lamar Jackson went 12 for 17 on the 7-on-7 drills, which is a little bit better than he did yesterday. But, yesterday he played well as, similar numbers. But the other thing in practice was there was a focus on the tight end seam route. And actually, there's clips of Isaiah Likely playing, the safety, the linebacker spot on Mark Andrews, and Lamar Jackson throwing the back shoulder fade for him. That's a route that Lamar Jackson has always seemed very comfortable throwing, but it looks like it's being more emphasized in training camp than years past. So that's something to maybe keep an eye on, is maybe, something they're really trying to integrate into the offense. Maybe it's part of Greg Roman's vault. I don't know. And according to Jeff Zrebiec, Devin Williams did return to practice today. That was the big change of practice. But let's get into the press conferences, kind of the big thing, with these types of videos. Starting off, it was John Harbaugh, like always, and he talked about Ben Cleveland. Why hasn't he been practicing? Hasn't passed his conditioning test. So once he passes that, he'll be able to go. Charlie Kohler, he's going to be getting sports hernia surgery, which is really unfortunate, but hopefully we'll be able to get him back, early in the season, midway through the season. And then Harbaugh also talked about, the emphasis that it seems like there is on the deep ball in training camp. And he said, you know what? If we get good at it, we're going to do it more. So, it's something where, if the Ravens can prove they can do it, we're going to see it more in that offense. So hopefully they can really get it going. So then Greg Roman can actually implement it. Next up, talked about Isaiah Likely. That was a big player that a lot of people kept talking about today. He talked about how Isaiah Likely, he has a catch radius. He's going to catch any ball that's, thrown in that general area, and that's a major benefit to have out of a player. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body. And then finally, Harbaugh talked about Tyler Linderbaum. He was like, man, that guy's all about work. He even said something like, sometimes I say hi to him, and sometimes I'll get a hi back from him. He is fully focused on getting better. Now let's get into the big guy. Lamar Jackson stepped up to the podium today. And first off, he was talking about the hate that he's been getting. Talked about Bernard Pollard a little bit, and he was like, he's not worried about it. He's going to respond. He's not going to go after them. If they try and come after him, he'll respond. And then in terms of the deal, they're still negotiating. They're keeping it private, but he did say that he thinks the deal will get done before the season starts. It's a mutual. They're just trying to find time right now because he's at practice all day. So when he has time and, Eric DeCosta, Steve Bisciotti, they have time, then that's when they're going to try and really get it done. But, it's all about finding the time. But, he's really happy with how everything has gone from an organizational standpoint. Next off, he was talking about how all these people bringing up, Lamar Jackson's contract. He was like, they don't know what I'm thinking. They have no idea what's going on. Anything that comes out, it's going to come out from me. And I haven't said anything, so nobody really knows what's going on outside of the people in that room. He also talked about what motivates him. Some people talk about money. He was like, football. Football motivates me. I love the game. Again, that's Lamar Jackson. That is something we have always known about Lamar Jackson. That's one of the best characteristics about him. He loves what he does. Next up, he was talking about Isaiah Likely. Again, another person talking about Isaiah Likely. He talked about how he's like a wide receiver. He even called him Baby Mark at this point in his career, which Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, one of the best duos in the NFL, so hopefully they can, replicate that. And finally, he talked about how he, Pro Shea, and Rashad Bateman worked out in the offseason together on that deep ball. So that's something that we could see, this year is they tried to build that chemistry that they haven't had the time to build over the last couple of seasons. If they can get that down, that's a scary thing for the Ravens offense. Next guy to step up to the podium was Tyler Linderbaum. And Tyler Linderbaum, you can tell this dude is just purely all about work. Talked about how you got to take it day by day, got to get better. You're going to make mistakes, but don't repeat those mistakes. Kevin Zeitler's been super helpful for him. Morgan Moses has also been helpful, but like he talked about how like the veterans have just been explaining like this is one of the best organizations you could be at. The grass doesn't get greener elsewhere. He was all about work. That is something that you can tell about Tyler Linderbaum. That's all he's about. Getting better, putting his head down, being respectful, and getting it done. Finally was Justin Houston, and there was an issue with the microphone at the beginning of the press conference, but they got it sorted out. And he talked about how he actually knew Mike McDonald from back at Georgia when he was first starting out, which I thought was a little bit interesting. That that connection goes all the way back. So he does actually know Mike McDonald and has known him for a very long time. Then he talked about, he's got all these young guys around him and he's that mentor for them. And he talked about how he loves that mentor role. He loves being able to work with those guys and, pass on his knowledge. And then finally he talked about Lamar Jackson and he compared him to LeBron James. And he was like, man, there's nothing this guy can do right. Everyone's just going to come out after him for no matter what he does. And he's like, Lamar Jackson is like so good at what he does. And the way he handles everything is like super mature and well above what you would expect for someone his age, which is high praise from, a world class, at one point, the best pass rusher in the NFL. So that's all I got for today. News and notes. If you guys want to check out today's other video, you can check it out as well. But thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again